All right. Now, I see all of you. Everybody's popping in the room, and we have about 500 people coming today, so I'm very, very excited. I'm Wendi Friesen, as most of you know, and I, for 20 years, have been a hypnotherapist, and I have done many seminars, videos, trainings, all kinds of things that I've done to help people make their lives better. But the one thing that has been the most important and the most powerful for me is helping people with addiction, specifically drug and alcohol addiction. So some of you may have heard me talk about how my own life has been touched by drug addiction with my oldest son. And he had struggled for many, many years and in and out of rehab. And I learned a lot of things from the inside of rehab about how addiction works and how the treatment works or does not work, and a lot of stories that I want to share with you so you can understand what you might be doing in the drug and alcohol addiction field. All right, so to start out, first of all, a couple little housekeeping things is you can chat with each other, you can ask questions of each other. If I see your questions, I'll try to answer them. I may not answer them exactly right after you ask them. So just bear with me. This is the first time I've used this. We are going to be actually learning techniques and methods that you're going to use with clients in this training. So there's 3 classes, remember. There's one today, there's one on Monday, and the third one on Wednesday. And while there might be some offers that I'll make to you if you want to continue with the training after that, these 3 classes are meant to give you content and give you training to become a better hypnotherapist, counselor, coach, or whatever your profession is. All right, so, oh, someone lost the sound? Well, that's not good. Is anyone else having a problem with the sound? Oh dear. Uh-oh, what happened? It's not working now? We lose your no broadcast now. Is anyone seeing the broadcast right now? Because there's a few people in the chat who say the broadcast is not working now. Okay, Vero in Mexico can see and hear me, and some people are having trouble. Well, I'm going to go ahead and continue because this is being recorded, and you can watch the recording, okay? Yeah, there will be a recording afterwards. So one of the things that I learned in going to rehab with my son and going to meetings that he went to there was that the things that they're teaching the addicts is that you need to be powerless, that you're going to relapse. Relapse is part of recovery. You're always going to be diseased, and you're always going to be in fear of relapse. So I'm going to share a couple stories with you, and then we're going to talk about how that relates to what we know about hypnotherapy, NLP, belief change, and the therapy that we do that really, really works. So one of the experts that came in to be a speaker at the rehab meeting, he came in and said, "Hi, I'm George. I've been sober for 20 years, and I have to tell you that even today, I'm struggling just to make it till midnight." Well, from a hypnotherapist standpoint, what is he doing? He is future pacing them to install in their mind that 20 years from now, they're going to still be struggling and they're going to be having trouble with the fear of relapse. So he goes on to talk about all the times when he's had alcohol and the things that he did and the grand and glorious and fun times he had with alcohol and how much he abused it. And he's telling him these stories. Well, their brain is sucking all this in, and now they're dreading even more the fact that they never get to drink again. So he does tell them that they're diseased, you know, and that they're going to be struggling. And it was just a really impactful thing to give them that belief that they're going to be struggling. So then, another rehab meeting I was at, the leader who had been doing this for 20 years, he had a group that he was working with, and one of the participants, he said to him, "So you're a high relapser?" And this participant says, yeah, I am. And he says, "Well, how long does it take before you relapse when you quit?" And he said, "Well, usually it's about 30 days. Sometimes I can make it to 60. He says, "So you're going to probably be relapsing right around Christmas then, right?" He's, yeah. Well, this is hypnosis as well. Whether you're in trance or not doesn't matter. If they're installing a belief from someone who has some authority and who has some credibility, You're going to believe that. So now he implanted that he is a high relapser, which is a belief, and how soon he's going to relapse. Okay, so there's many stories like this, but I don't want to take too much time telling all those stories. The beliefs that we have with hypnosis is that in order to make someone change, you have to create this absolute belief that this change is going to happen and that it's already happened, and you have to also create the values that go along with the belief and that match the belief. So there's many ways to do this, and what I'm going to share with you in the next 45 minutes is what you're going to do specifically to help your clients change this belief. All right, now, looking at the opposite of what 12-step and AA is, and that's a little side note. If you did quit drinking or quit drugs using AA or 12-step, congratulations. That is awesome. I am very, very happy for you. One of the directors of one of the largest rehab centers in Southern California sat down with me and said, Wendi, our success rate is well below 10%, probably only 5 or 6%. We don't know what to do. And it's $30,000 a month for them to know that they have a success rate of about 5%. Ooh. But anyway, so if you have been successful, that's great. But here's the difference. If you believe that you're powerless to make a change in your life, so all of you hypnotherapists and NLP people and coaches that are listening, you know that that's not a place you want to be if you want to change something, especially something as difficult as addiction. So we need to be powerful. Next thing is your disease. Your disease is going to follow you everywhere. If your parents were alcoholics, you're genetically programmed to be susceptible to alcohol abuse and addiction. How many people have you heard saying that, oh, well, you know, my parents are alcoholics, so I can't touch this stuff. So if you believe you're diseased and that you're always susceptible, then you're going to be living in fear, and you're always going to apply that belief to all of the values you have that puts you in a state of fear or powerlessness. Whereas as hypnotherapists, we want to help someone know that they're healthy and they're strong, and that if there is a disease element to it, that's going to be gone, and they're going to simply be clean, healthy, strong, in control, powerful, right? So Sue says how many times we find ourselves having to undo what the supposed experts instill. Absolutely. And Anthony says, I agree about the power of suggestion. If you allow it, you believe it. That's absolutely right. So what I've done with alcohol and drug addiction, and in the beginning I thought, you know, I should not be treating alcohol or drug addiction because I'm a hypnotherapist, not a medical professional. But what I decided is that I am actually doing relapse prevention, and that's what you're going to be doing, is relapse prevention, because people quit all the time. They quit drugs and alcohol constantly, and smoking and all other addictions. But the relapse is a difficulty. So being a relapse prevention coach or therapist is totally good. That's where you're going to really shine and you're going to be really strong. So I started doing the addiction work, and I was totally flat out amazed at the results. So here's a couple of quick stories of some people that very early on had great success. One of my clients who just listened to the CDs of the Alcohol Freedom Program, which looks like this, he had destroyed his life, spent all of his adult life in and out of rehab, and he listened to the program, and he quit drinking, but he also became a triathlete and then travels the world doing triathlons, because instead of installing fear or disease or that relapse is part of recovery, he chose to install being an athlete and an Ironman triathlete. Never touch the stuff again. A woman stops me in the grocery store and says, "Oh my God, you're Wendi!" I'm like, cool, yeah. And she says, "You helped my husband. He listened to the CDs and he quit drinking." But what's really cool is if we have friends over, he can pour drinks, he can make drinks. If we go wine tasting, he just drinks his bubbly water. And he seems, you know, just really happy and content with that. Imagine there's no struggle. With the techniques I'm going to teach you, your client isn't going to struggle, should I drink again or should I do the drugs again? Their subconscious mind is going to be so programmed and hardwired to have a totally different response to those triggers that they're going to want to be healthy and strong and in control. Susie says, I agree, Wendi. Labeling addictions as diseases, if it cannot ever be fully healed, has always seemed to be seriously unhelpful. Indeed, any disease can be healed. And you know, as hypnotherapists, you have people that are like, oh no, that's not possible. But I want all of you to create a movement with me that we spread this word and we get this, you know, we get this done and we get all the credibility we need because we're getting results. So let's see, Paul, installing new beliefs would be a step in the right direction. True, but not many know how to do it. Excellent, Paul. I'm going to teach you. I'm going to totally teach you how. It's not difficult. We're going to work on that today. So here's another interesting example. There was someone who just listened to my free CD, and it's just called Hypnotic Journey. And 6 months later, he sent me an email, and he said, you know, I've had a cocaine addiction for 13 years. I've destroyed my life, trashed everything, lost my family. I don't have a job. I was at the bottom of the barrel. And I listened to your free CD, which what the free CD has is it takes you into the future to a time when you solve the problem and you meet your future self, and then I do some stuff with that. And he says, from the day I listened to that, I never did cocaine again. I have my family back. I fixed my life. I've got a great job. I just bought a new car. Life is great. From one 12-minute recorded session that changed his belief about the cocaine, who he was, what he was becoming, and by being in that future moment and experiencing who he already is in that future moment, it changed the neurology of his brain, it changed the triggers, it changed his belief, and he no longer did cocaine, had his life back. So Joan says, what about gambling? And yes, this absolutely works with any addictions. The same processes have to be done for any addictions. It's not about support groups and listening to those sad stories. And you know, many of you may know that I did a lot of radio advertising, millions of dollars of radio advertising nationally many years ago. #1 selling program that I advertised was Alcohol Freedom. #1. It is still my #1 selling program because people need an answer. They need something that will help. But here's what's interesting. In my ads, sometimes I would talk about, you know, if you've been to meetings and you're doing 12-step and you're frustrated and it seems like it just makes you more sad, depressed, and angry, I have a solution for you. So anyway, I would get emails and phone calls from people that said, wow, this is so amazing because I didn't realize that going to the meetings is what was making me want to drink. The only time that I drank was when I was at a meeting. So you listen to these sad stories and you're in this energy of hearing people relapse and hearing them be so like distraught. You're not hearing powerful messages. You're hearing some guy like George saying, even after 20 years, I'm still trying to make it till midnight. So, first thing that we can talk about is the reason that this works. Now, most of you being hypnotherapists know why hypnosis works. But I'm going to go over it for those that are not real clear on it. Maybe I'm going to enlighten you on some things that you're not aware of. Most of you know what neuroplasticity is. It means that our brains are always changing, and up until about 10 or 15 years ago, we didn't know this. They said the brain was set, and it didn't change after, what, 25 years old, but it does all your life. So when we do hypnosis, we're actually changing the neural networks. We're growing these neural pathways, and they are going to the place that we tell them to go. So if we spend every day going, oh, I'm so sad, I'm so scared, I just can't face another day, I know I'm just going to never get out of this depression. And if something bad happens, then we say, oh man, nothing good happens in my life. This is just a train wreck. So you're actually growing neural networks when you say those things that match up emotionally with events, memories, and emotions in your life, so that they create these triggers and they hook up with them, so that now, yes, your life does get worse. It spirals downward because all of these neural networks have attached to all those negative emotions. So now take an addict, a drug or alcohol addict, and they have a disaster in their life. Their neural pathways are just going to all the negative things, the guilt, the anger, the destruction they've created in their life, and you know, there's just nothing good they can find. They couldn't visualize a happy moment if they tried. All they have is, my family hates me, I lost my kids, nothing good is working out, I don't have a job, you might as well kill myself. So that's all they have. So what we want to do with hypnosis is to connect the neural pathways to good, positive experiences. But We can't do that unless the person has those in their brain. So if they don't have them, what do? We create them. Because you know that the subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between a real and an imagined event. So if you create an event for someone, and this is one of the techniques you're going to do to create a belief. So take notes if you can. You take someone into the future in hypnosis, and you have them put their feet down in that future moment. And in that future moment, you suggest things that they are going to experience. And you ask them just to look around and notice what it is they're experiencing. And then you specifically implant suggestions, which is, we could have a discussion about leading and whether leading is right or not. But in this case, it's the right thing to do. You implant suggestions that are now, at this moment in your life, in the future. Notice how strong you're feeling, and notice that you've been healthy for 2 years, or whatever point in the future they're at. I want you to find the most powerful and important thing about this moment in your life, and you let them experience that. And you say, what is there? What is the most important and powerful thing for you? You might say, oh, I have my kids back, and I feel like all the weight is lifted, and I feel loved again, and life is good, and I'm doing a business that I love, and they'll have these things that are really good. Now, since you did this in hypnosis, their brain is implanting this memory from the future as if it's a real memory. It is emotional, it's physical, because you're going to ask them to experience physical sensations, Give your child a hug. Just notice how pure and beautiful it is. No more guilt. You feel proud of yourself, and you're glad to be the mom or the dad. Physical feelings, smells, it's fresh. Everything is wonderful and beautiful, and you can just breathe in that fresh air and know that your life is on track and it's where you want to be. As many senses as you can. So you build this future memory. Now, when you bring them back from that future moment, you're going to bring back, and the way I do it is I say, come up out of that future moment right now. Bring with you all the resources, the feelings, the thoughts, everything that means so much to you, and everything that you value and cherish about who you are now. Bring it all back, all the way back here, all the way back to the present moment. Good, and just come all the way back with all of that. Let your feet touch down in that present moment. Good. Yeah, and just notice all of that. It's very real. It is who you are. And so anyway, that would be like the short version of creating a belief of who they are now, not who they're going to be in 20 years, or what they're going to have to struggle with for months or years, trying to make it till midnight, or believing that their disease is always lurking around the corner. Make sense? Okay, so that's the short version of using a future timeline to implant a belief. It takes about a half an hour, and there's a lot of questions that you ask them, so you build a really strong memory. Now, the next piece that you do to make sure that this future memory is really strong is, while they're in hypnosis, there's 3 words you're going to use, and one is strong, one is healthy, and the other is in control. So first you're going to ask them, now that you know that you have the life that you want and you're not going to struggle anymore with addiction, that you are going to be in a good body, a powerful mind, and a loving, beautiful life. When you think about being powerful, what does it mean for you? And you let them put words into what powerful means for them. And it's going to be really personal for them. And you make some notes because you want to make sure that you remember what those things mean for them for power. You say, good, so now you're in a healthy body, and what you experienced in that future moment, notice what your body feels like in that future moment. What does it mean to you to be healthy? How does it feel to be healthy? And what's the most important thing about being in a healthy body? And let them tell you what it means to be healthy. Write those things down because you're going to use them. And then you're going to talk about being in control. So now you ask, in this experience that you just had, you notice that you're in control, that there's no more thoughts about fear or relapsing or any struggle at all, but you know you're in control and you know what it feels like to be in control. So tell me, what is the most important thing about being in control? What does that mean for you? And what has that done for your life to be able to be in control? And let them describe what it means to be in control. Okay, so now we have linked you're strong, healthy, and in control. Oh, I said power. I meant strong. Well, we can use powerful. But I think that the 3 words I use in the recordings are strong, powerful, and in control. Okay, so. So now you can go back to that future moment again and just say, I want you to experience yourself being strong, healthy, and in control. So go back into that moment in the future. And all of the things that are there, all of the love, all of the stability, your mental sharpness, the excitement and the joy of what you've created, it's all right here, right now. And notice what it means to be strong right now. What does it feel like to really be a strong person? And then give them a minute, and then you say, what does it mean to be healthy? Just really experience what it is to be healthy. And if they're right there with you as a client, you can let them tell you. If you're doing this with a group, let them just get their answers on their own. And then say, your life is in control. And what is that like? How exciting is that to know that you really are in control? And you really do have the power to choose what you're going to do with your life and with your day and with your love, with your family. Okay, so now bring that all back once again to the present moment. So now you have a really powerful memory you've created, and you have anchored it with strong, healthy, and in control, right? You've created an anchor with those 3 words. Now, the next part is you want to get rid of the triggers. So what if this could actually happen? And it does. One of my clients who had used the Alcohol Freedom Program, it didn't come and see me, but just used the recordings. He said he was sitting in a bar during like a business conference, and one of his friends who didn't know he had quit drinking about a month ago bought him a shot of his favorite whiskey. Took that whiskey and waved it under his nose. And what is the most powerful trigger we have? Who knows the word? Who can put it in the chat room? The most powerful trigger we have that triggers memories, will bring you back to a moment in time. Come on. It is olfactory, which is the sense of smell. So this person waved the whiskey under his nose, which should have gone right to his brain, to his place of fear and weakness and cravings and desire, and brought up all, very good Susie, olfactory, brought up all those memories that would make him want that drink right now. It's right there in front of him. And what he told me, he said, when I smelled that alcohol, instantly I knew I was strong, healthy, and in control, and it made me so happy that I had my good, happy, alcohol-free life. Yeah? So we're using the alcohol or the drugs as a trigger to make them access the memory of being strong, healthy, and in control. So that's a pretty powerful belief. But it's not just the belief. It's making sure that the neural networks that I talked about, that we created these pathways, and we created massive amounts of these pathways for physical sensations and emotions and beliefs and values and all the things they love. And we have connected them to the very thing that used to create the fear, the relapse, the desire. Make sense? So far, so good? Okay, so that was a big piece of the lesson, is creating that belief, okay? So in creating that belief, there, as I said earlier, you know, there's the training that you get as a hypnotherapist that you should not be leading your client. And in the future moment, you are most definitely leading your client. And here's why. In this case, a client comes to you and they want to quit drinking, or they want to quit doing cocaine or meth or heroin or whatever they want to quit doing. They are there to have you lead them step by step and give them the resources and help them to install and implant all of the beliefs and the values and the mechanics of what they need to quit, right? So in this situation, is it okay to lead them? When they're in that future moment, is it okay to say, okay, now go find your son. I want you just to imagine yourself, you're there at the ballpark because he loves having you in his life again. He loves just doing things beside you because you're a good man. You are his idol once again, and he really, really loves his dad. You know, you are definitely leading and creating a scenario that's going to open up a part of the memory that's going to create the pride that this client wants. So in this case, leading is essential. Now, there's another part of one of the questions that I posed in some of the emails you received, and that is, what if you have a client who isn't sure if they really want to quit drinking or quit doing the drugs? I kind of like drinking, you know, all my buddies do it, everyone wants to, and, you know, even though I really overdo it and it's getting ridiculous, you know, I'm not sure. Or maybe their husband sent them in, or their wife sent them in, or somebody else is telling them they've got to quit drinking. So what if that person doesn't want to quit drinking? Can you make them? And those of you who are hypnotherapists, go ahead and put it in the chat room. Do you think that you have the ability to make them quit? Now, what is the AA belief about someone who is unsuccessful at quitting drinking or drugs? If they are unable to quit drinking, what do they say? Well, you're just not ready. Or what else do they say? There's another one, and this one, oh boy, is a tough one. They say, well, I guess you just haven't hit bottom. And then a person might say, are you kidding me? I lost my house, my family hates me, I have no job, my health is horrible, I'm probably going to die of liver disease. And then what do they say next? You haven't hit your bottom. And they do believe that you need to go deeper into despair, frustration, anger, self-loathing, and destroy your life further because you haven't hit your bottom. So now, coming back to the question that I just asked, can you make someone want to quit drinking or want to quit drugs? All right. So Paul says no. Robin says only if they want to. Ted says yeah, victim. Edward says no. Mike says no. Oh, you guys, you are in for it. Oh my goodness. Doris says no with 3 exclamation points. Yeah, and Sue, I think, talking about the leading, she says it's fine as long as we get exactly, oops, where'd it go? Get exactly right and don't clash in some way with the picture that the client is forming in the mind, right? So Sue, during that leading, you're definitely going to want to ask them some things. Although when people are listening to my recordings, they are not listening to what they're saying. So here's the deal. Rez says, I had my first success with someone quitting using future pacing, as they had to break the news to their family they were dying because of their habit. Okay, all right, yeah, you're almost there. Now, doing something negative like that, like I just read, that would help someone decide, right? Here's the deal with helping them decide if they want to quit drugs or quit drinking, and it's very close to what Rez just said. So if you do any work with a timeline where you're right now, person's in trance, in the present moment, and there's a path in front of them that is their future, with every step they take, they're going farther into their future, days or weeks, even months, and they go day by day into their future, okay, that kind of thing. But now do this. Say, now as you're walking into your future, I want you to stop right there at the fork in the road. The path goes to the right, and the path goes to the left. Now, remember that for most people, your left is your past, and your right is your future. Okay, very important. Make sure that you do it this way, and if you want to do a check beforehand to see if they hold their past on their left and their future on their right, if you've had some timeline training, you can do that. But if not, just assume it. So you take them to that point at that fork in the road, and the wording will go something like this. So again, take notes if you can. If not, I'll get you caught up, because I got these seriously amazing manuals that have all this in it, every word. and more. Okay, so I want you just to go on the path to the left for a moment. And as you do, I want you to notice that it is your life, the same as it is now. The same things happening every day. You're drinking and hiding it and hating yourself and feeling guilty. And also, this would be a good place to use their words that they gave you when you talked to them before the session. Keep going farther into that future and just notice what's happening. Where's your family? If you could look into their eyes of anyone in your family, what do you see? And they might say, same thing, disgusted with me. Go a little farther into the future. What's happening to your body? I'm getting sicker. I can't hardly do anything because all these years of alcohol have just destroyed my body. And the same thing for drugs. If you're doing this for drugs, you know, all these years, what has it done to your body? You know, they might say, I'm just a wreck. I can't even function anymore. So you take them into that future and have them experience a few things. Don't be too brutal. Don't be creating memories in their brain that are really, really horrible about them dying or you know, just try to be as gentle as you can, but as real as you can, because they already know these feelings really well. They live with them every day. Okay, so there they are, and say, okay, I want you just to stop for a moment. And on the count of 3, I want you to float up out of that future moment. Just float right up. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Float up. Lighter, lighter, lighter. I want you to notice it from above. And that is a path that's filled with destruction. And your addiction was really tough on that path. And that's where your life went. The same thing every day. And indeed, it turns out that you were powerless. But I want you to float back now. Just leave it there. Just let it kind of get farther and farther away as you float all the way back here to the present moment. Float all the way back right here to the present moment. Good. Let your feet touch down. Very nice. Take a deep breath. And I want you to notice that there's a path on the right. That path on the right, while it may take a lot of courage and a lot of strength, the moment you take the very first step, it's all going to fall into place, and it's all going to feel exactly the way that you have wanted to feel for years. So right now, I want you just to notice what it's like. Take a step. Yeah. Now go into the future of what you could do the moment you leave behind the alcohol. You never have to give it another thought. It's never going to be an issue again. But take a few more steps and just notice that it's almost like you could raise your arms in the air and just feel this enormous sense of freedom. And just notice what that freedom feels like. It's all over. You're done with it. There's no more alcohol to taunt you, to hurt you, to make you feel guilty. And every step you take right now into the future, notice that you love yourself a little bit more. And as a side note, I would do this very slowly. I would talk much slower. And just put all the feeling into it that I can. So I want you to go to a point in the future where you're absolutely certain that you're strong and healthy and in control. And I want you to notice what's happening with your family. And here you might use some of the things that they've told you to help them to really cement the positive things. So now in this future, how does your body feel? What is it like to be so healthy and so strong? And this is why that one client became an Ironman triathlete, because in this future moment, he had never been an athlete. He saw and felt himself running, swimming, biking, doing all these things to challenge himself. So anyway, now in this future moment, you suggest all of the things that they want in their life. You have a new business that you love. What is it that you're doing, and how does it feel to know that you created success, that you did that? How does it feel to know that your body and your brain is cleared every morning when you wake up? You wake up feeling good, and you actually love yourself first thing in the morning. What happens when you go look in the mirror? Yeah, that's the man you want to be, or that's the woman that you are proud of. Okay, so you put everything in there as personal as you can. Say, now on the count of 3, I want you to float up out of that timeline. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Float up, lighter, lighter, lighter. Good. And just notice that. Notice that strong and healthy and in control man or woman. Notice what that really means to you. Now I want you to float all the way back to the present moment, all the way back here. And in the present moment, when you're there, just float all the way back. Let your feet touch down right there. Now, there's that path to the left, and there's that path to the right. And in a moment, not yet, but in a moment, I'm going to ask you to take a step onto the path where you want to live your life. Okay, now, the session would go on from there, but right now, I want to ask you all that said, no, you cannot make someone do it. They have to want to do it, not till they're ready. Bridget says, I love how you switch from speaker instructor to therapist instructor. Thank you. Jesse's here. High five, Jesse. Let's see. So what do you think now? What do you think about making someone want it? Did we just create a switch in their mind that is going to make them have to take that step to the right? When you implant it that strongly, where the path to the left has absolutely those consequences and those feelings and behaviors that they know so well, are they going to want that? They've just experienced the other thing. Now, the problem with people quitting addictions is they haven't experienced the life that they do want. They've only experienced the misery, am I right? Yeah, okay. Little side note. Jack Elias is here. Right on, Jack. If you're the Jack that I think you are. He says, now I make sure I have guidance from their MD on, oh crap, where'd it go? On how to wean them. My chat room's jumping around a bit, my apologies. But I'd like to know if Wendy has something to add about this. Yes, and Jack, we are going to talk about that for sure. So if you're the Jack that's the author of all those amazing hypnotherapy books and training and everything, just let me know. I think that's Jack Elias, isn't that who he is? Okay, so back to what we were talking about before. Crystal says you give them hope and possibility. Paul Ellie says they have to want it. No, 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 you're going to make them want it. They will not want the same life they've been living. Danny Fox says, yes, you created an aversion to the other path. Julie says, you can make them want to. Kim says, yes, the power of suggestion is very powerful. And Rez says, you gave them really clear choices. Yep. So, now all of you said no, you got it, right? Paul Ely says hypnotherapy is revolutionary. Absolutely. Now, some of you may not be hypnotherapists, counselors, or coaches. You're welcome to be here and learn this, but you may want to become a hypnotherapist. It is an amazing profession because you can do things like this. But it does take training. You have to get good at what you're doing. So I'm going to address Jack's question, and I'm going to make a quick little note to remind myself in a second. But let's go back to the fork in the road. So now they're there. They're still in trance, and they're standing there and say, it's your choice. You can choose that path on the left, and you know what it's like. Or you can choose the path on the right. And while it might seem easy, think about it for a moment. Because this is a choice you're only going to make one time. It's all or nothing. So then give them some time, and then say on the count of 3, take that step. And let yourself be very connected emotionally to what they're about to do, because this is huge, what you're going to do for them. So what I want you to do is make sure you're absolutely ready, because there is a big, beautiful life waiting for you with everything you could possibly want, but you can step onto that path on the left as well. So now, on the count of 3, I want you just to take that step. Step out onto that path. The one that you will live your life on. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Take that step. Oh. Okay, now at this point, if someone was in my office, if it's a client, I have the music change. I have the music change into something that is just sparkly and beautiful and light. So anyway, they take the step on the path to the right, and I have never had anyone take a step to the left in all the years I've been doing this. But they take that step, and it's such a relief to them because now it's all over. They're not doing it on their own, and they're not scared, and they're not uncertain about themselves. They have created this future memory, which is real in the subconscious mind. They have attached strong and healthy and in control, and what all 3 of those things mean for them in that future. They have brought them back and anchored them into what they want, and the work that we didn't look at today with the triggers is creating the trigger that makes you want that healthy, clean, strong life, right? I just realized that, hold on. My little plug for my laptop's not in, so we don't want to run out of power. That'd be extremely sad. Okay. All right. So now, back to Jack's question. Jack said, look lower down for my first question. So I'm going to assume right now that your first question is the one about the weaning them off and the MD question. If it's not, Jack, maybe you could type it back in because I wasn't reading earlier. Okay, so Jack asked about getting them off the substances. And in our classes, we're doing 3 free classes. I'm going to talk about that. But basically, first of all, you are not taking someone who is actively under the influence of alcohol, they have already quit and they want to not relapse, or maybe they are going through a treatment center that is helping them with physical aspects. You are not treating any of the physical problems with it. With any alcohol or drugs, the detox is very serious and it can be life-threatening. So we're going to learn about that in the future classes, but we don't have time to go into it now. But for sure, you have to understand the consequences of that. You're also going to learn all about the drugs and all the consequences, the detox and the methods, and time goes really fast when we're only together for an hour, but we will be doing that for sure. Yeah, detox is often necessary. Check with an MD. And you might find an MD in town who's an addiction doctor. A lot of people go do detox on their own. They go to an addiction doctor, pay $1,000, get a bunch of medications. He checks in with them, does some, whatever health tests and checks, and then they have that supervised. But you are not doing that. You're definitely not part of that. So, thank you, Keith Anthony. So Jack says a word of caution. Years ago, I helped a heavy drinker quit in one session. The next time I saw him, he'd been in the hospital with DTs. Yep, you can, and if you don't know what DTs are, you're going to learn in the next couple of classes. And for alcohol, DTs can be deadly. And what happens when alcohol leaves your body is that when you had alcohol in your system all the time, your brain and your heart and your entire metabolism is sped up to make up for the alcohol suppressing everything. And your brain activity especially has sped up, but the alcohol's kept it at a normal level. Now when you remove the alcohol, the brain goes, wah, because it goes like, it's all speeding up, and that's why they have seizures, which you can die from. Now, there is a harm reduction method, and I'll get his name in our next meeting. But there's a man who does a harm reduction method who has a radio show, and what he suggests is if you're going to wean yourself off, is you actually wean yourself off. And if you are a very heavy drinker, you have an exact schedule where you're having, 1 beer an hour, and the next day 1 beer every other hour, or whatever is needed. Yeah, and sometimes like detox may not be necessary. You have like these women who drink, and they drink a bottle of wine a night or 2 bottles of wine a night. They may not need detox, but it's not your job to decide that. Okay, so hopefully, hopefully you're going to get educated. You're going to come back to the next 2 classes, and you're going to really learn what your place is in that, because we've got to take this very seriously. Yes, indeed. Okay, so I want to answer some of your questions now. So if you had some questions and I didn't see them because I was busy yakking, go ahead and ask them now, and I'll answer some questions. And while you're doing that, I want to give you a 1-minute commercial break. All right, so the Addiction Freedom Training has been turned into an entire manual. This manual, like the table of contents, is pretty amazing. It has all the information and way more than we're going to be learning in the 3 classes. This alone doesn't make you a competent hypnotherapist that would work with addicts. It's this plus the training and understanding what this is about. It helps you learn all about all the drugs and all the treatment methods that are out there, the language of addiction and rehab and everything else. So that, and then here's something really cool that I really like. Okay, so I made a client workbook that is called Addiction Freedom, with the emphasis on the freedom. It's probably backwards in your window. And it has, this book, when I have it printed for you, will have your picture, your name, your contact information, and your bio. Smart, huh? And then every page is color. It helps your client understand the principles and the concepts that you're teaching them. It has writing assignments for them so that they can interact. You bring this, or they bring this back to you every time they see you, right? And it has all the stuff. So, okay, that's a quickie. And there's marketing materials. And the marketing materials are brochures and flyers that you could drop off at a treatment center, so you could do a presentation, or you could just give to clients, that kind of thing. Okay, so Vero says, do we get notes for this webinar? It said so in the email. Yes, you'll get notes. I just didn't know how to attach a document to this chat thing, so I'm going to have to give you the link in an email, okay? What other questions? We'd be doing the addiction freedom training online. Yes, actually I will, and I'm going to tell you about that right now. HEMS Network, there you go. Someone put a link for that in there. Thank you, Melanie. And there is a training I'm going to be doing that is going to be 10 hours online, and we'll do 2 hours at a time in 5 classes. And there's a package you can get that will include several of the workbooks for your clients, lots of advertising, marketing materials, and of course the manual. So right now what I want to do though is I want you to know that the 3 classes you're taking right now are free and they are filled with content. Right now I'm not here to sell you something. However, if you decide that you want to continue the training online or in person, we're going to do that, and I have a package that includes the manuals and the workbooks and all of them printed with your name, like the flyers that you're going to get. They're actually blue. I changed the colors, but I think blue is a better color than brown. But anyway, down here, this is going to be your picture and your bio. But what's good about this is these are being printed in very, very large quantities, so they're very high quality and glossy, and they give you a lot of credibility when you have really good materials. Isn't that right? Yes, that's right. Okay. Keith says he needs a drink. Tea, I think. You know what's interesting in the recorded program, the Alcohol Freedom, and this is one of the techniques we're going to learn in the future classes, is I connect their need for alcohol to a desire for tea. And it is about how sensual tea is and how it smells and how it tastes. And when they hold that cup of tea in their hand, they're so satisfied. And that when they come home at, you know, people who come home at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the evening and their first thought was like, gotta have a drink. And when you come in that door, when your hand's on that doorknob, or whatever their trigger is, you know, but when that happens, you're going to realize that you want that tea more than anything. That is just a thing that soothes your soul, and that you are strong and healthy and in control. And then, strangely enough, because you guys know that hypnosis is pretty damn powerful, that tea actually does satisfy them. And whenever their brain was triggered to drink alcohol, or in the case of drug addicts, when they were triggered to do that drug, their brain goes to, I gotta have some tea. And so some of my clients have said, you've turned me into a tea monster. You should see. I have multiple teapots. I have tea bags everywhere. So Dora says that's an excellent approach. I don't know if she's talking to me or someone else. Paul's addicted to Wendi. Oh, there's no hope for that one. Yeah, Paul, I'll come to France to do a seminar. Absolutely, no problem. I will jump on over there in a second to do that. So if you want to help me coordinate that, I would definitely do that. Jesse says, how do you control their surroundings of friends that encourage them to drink and be life of the party? Controlling their lifestyle has been more of a challenge for me recently with some of my clients. And Dawn says, Wendi puts me to sleep every night. I'm so glad we get to sleep together. Okay, so Jesse, you don't get them to control their environment. They're going to be in that environment. The really weird thing that nobody thinks is possible is that when they're in that environment, if they're in a bar or they have a bottle of wine in their hand because they're pouring someone drinks, it only makes them stronger. It only makes them more certain that they love their strong, healthy, in control life, and all the things that's connected to. I am not kidding. The neural networks that you created and those pathways that you burn together in their brain are now so much more massively powerful that their brain only has the choice of going to those. Because there's also some ways that you're going to dissolve some of the old connections. So one woman says to me, oh man, when I went to the grocery store, it was so hard because I'd walk down the aisle with the wine, and I just destroyed me, and it was so tough. She says, but now, when I walk down that aisle and I see that wine, I get happy, and I'm like holding on to the cart and dancing. And she says, seriously, I could just sing because I feel so good because it has no pull, no effect on me. Does that make sense? So Joan says, I've used a similar technique to help someone stop marijuana. Okay. Vero says, I think I'm interested in this course. Could it be online for big groups so it's more accessible? Absolutely. My mission is to train as many people as possible who are professionals who can take this training and know what they're doing and do it well and start getting the word out. We just can't keep doing what we've been doing. So now, you know, back to the problem with rehab. Here's the thing. There's an enormous fraud that is being perpetrated on the addicts, and a lot of people are getting very, very wealthy. If I were to sell you a car that cost $30,000, and I knew that in 30 days there's only a 5% chance that car will still start or run, what would happen to me? I would be guilty of fraud, because I knew that that car only had a 5% chance of continuing to run or start or be useful. And no money back, no guarantees. Not my problem, right? Okay, so these treatment centers all over the country and all over the world, most of them are doing exactly that. And I have written checks for $150,000 for my son's 6 times in rehab. And I know what they're doing in there. I went there just as a participant for a meeting that he was in, and I went and talked to the directors, them knowing that I'm a hypnotherapist. I had meetings with their staff and talked to them about what I was doing. They're not real hip to my action in the beginning, but then you start talking to their guests and their addicts, and they're blown away. They're like, holy cow, 1 hour of that, and my mind is totally blown, right? Dude, you're blowing my mind. Mm-hmm. So the problem is that the rehab centers have no obligation to help you, let you come back. There's no guarantee. If you relapse, you come back again. So one of them that my son was at, when several people were leaving, the director said, now you know that only 1 in 12 of you is still going to be sober and clean in 60 days. Only 1 in 12. Hypnosis in its best form. Okay, so you're going to leave here and only 1 in 12 is going to be sober. What are you going to do? Let's go get fucked up right now. Why wait 60 days? All right. Let's see. Are you really still 29? I might be just a year or two older, thank you. Patricia says, I agree, Wendy. I've been sober since 2007. I've moved past a constant, overwhelming desire to drink. I work in music promotion and have spent countless hours in bars around drinking. Wendy's Addiction Freedom has been a valuable tool for my tool chest of self-care. Thank you, Wendy. Wow, Patricia, thank you. Thank you. Joan says, when addictions are a Band-Aid to cover pain from childhood abuse or PTSD, is the healing done first or after the addiction sessions? That's a great question, Joan, and we are going to talk about doing regression to cause and going to the emotional events that are not healed, because part of this is about forgiveness and letting go of the past and healing the past. Vero says, how's your son doing now? Not so good. He's still on and off of opiates, and his life is not so good. You know, and for me, I haven't been able to help him because he knows that he's smarter than everybody. This is my oldest son, Sean, and I'm very open about it, because if you're open about it, if you have a family member who's an addict, you know, no family should have to hide away and shrink away from this. There's so many people who are opiate addicts nowadays, and so many families who are devastated by it. If you have a voice and you have someone in your family who's an addict, go ahead and open up and talk about it. Get the conversation going and get people to be, you know, very real about it. Because, yeah, we need to spread the word. But, yeah, he's not doing so good, so we'll see. He kind of goes in and out of it. Okay, so Bridget says, how do you work past the statement? If you've not been an alcoholic, you don't know what it's like. Yeah, well, you could say, you know what? I don't know what it's like to be one, but I have worked with hundreds of people or thousands of people in my practice whose lives have been devastated by some really stupid things they've done, and they have come to forgive themselves and be really strong, happy people. And even if you don't think that anyone would know what it's like, I know what it will be like for you to feel better, to have your life back, and to feel proud of yourself and to be able to look in the mirror and really love who you are. Okay. Wendy Doris asked a question. Do you think a person can have control over alcohol one day, meaning that they can drink again but not excessively? Yes and no. Yes and no. Most people who quit drinking and get the beliefs implanted about how much they love their life, they have no need or desire to drink. And so one of my customers who emailed me said, I haven't been drinking for like 2 months, but there's been beer in my fridge the whole time. Because after I did your sessions, the recorded sessions, there was still beer. So I haven't touched it, but because I don't want it. But he says, I decided to try and have a beer and see what would happen. So he says, I opened the beer and poured it in the glass, and I think I took about 3 or 4 sips, and I totally forgot about it. And I came back and looked at it a couple hours later, and there's that glass of beer sitting there. And that's what it's like. So maybe people won't want to. If they do decide they want to try a little bit here and there, that's their choice. It may be something that they don't even want. Mariana says, my little brother died and it was drug related, so I wish I had this information many years ago. Thank you for sharing the wealth of knowledge. Thank you. Mariana, tip of the iceberg here. This is the tip of the iceberg. Yeah, Sue says it's pretty tricky to work with your own children, especially the grown-up ones. Yeah, it is pretty tough. So let me go over some of the things that we're going to be working on in this 3-part free course, which you're going to tell all your friends about. One of the things that you need to know is I've been working with addiction for well over 10 years. I've been doing hypnotherapy for 20 years, but I started working with addiction about 12, 13 years ago. I really honestly didn't think that I had any right to do that, but the results were stunning, just absolutely freaking off the charts stunning, so I'm committed to it. We're going to talk about some of the legal issues and how you're going to safely work with addiction, alcohol, drugs, because you're going to be doing relapse prevention. Okay, we'll talk a bit about the science of addiction. I'm going to teach you about past timelines and how you're going to use the past timeline to help them heal some moments from their past. You're going to do sessions on self-sabotage, because self-sabotage is obviously a very big part of addiction of any kind. You're going to learn to do parts therapy and the Temple of Wisdom, which is going to help with the self-sabotage. You're going to learn regression to cause. Now, I'm not going to teach you the entire techniques because you're already supposedly hypnotherapists for the most part. And if you need to learn some of these things, then we're going to do some specific videos just for those so you can have some training videos. And repetition, of course, is incredibly important. The repetition is what grows more neural networks and attaches those neural pathways to the right things. And self-talk. So if someone walks out of your office and they think, yeah, that was really nice and everything, but I can't do this. I don't know, I'll just never get it. Their self-talk has got to change. And then what do you do in a consultation when someone calls you when they want to be your client for drugs or alcohol or any kind of addiction? I'm going to tell you what to say, what you need to know, and how you can talk to them. And how about building rapport? You've got to build rapport with these people because they have to trust you. And you have to be as sincere and integrous and real and honest with them as absolutely possible. And the path to get there, you're going to outline that. We're going to talk about some people like Stanton Peele. If you know Stanton Peele, he's written a lot of books on addiction. He is on board with this kind of work, and he's an amazing researcher, very powerful and well-known. We're going to talk about Bruce Lipton and the biology of belief, and is alcoholism or drug addiction a disease? Is any kind of addiction a disease? And Bruce has evidence about how our genes are changed based on our beliefs, right? Their genetic expression. Oh, Keith Anthony. Oh, thank you for that message, Keith Anthony. I will make sure that I follow up, but maybe follow up with me on Facebook privately too. Thank you. So then you're going to learn all the drugs, all the language of addictions, and if you were going to go talk to a treatment center, a rehab center to do a presentation, you're going to know how to speak the language. You're going to know all of the things, be able to answer all the questions. Got to be experts. We're going to talk about detox and all the different types of detox and treatment centers. So there are many treatment centers which are just AA and 12-step, but there's a couple of them who are doing really good work, like Passages in Malibu. And how much does Passages charge for 1 month of treatment? Who knows? I'll give you a prize if anybody comes close. You come within $10,000 of the correct amount, I will send you the alcohol freedom CDs or anything. I'll send you a gift certificate. Okay, so you just chat it up in there. And I'm going to give you some more stories from the rehab centers and what's going on in there. We're going to learn about all the beliefs for 12-step and AA, and then we're going to look at the beliefs for hypnotherapy and change work in NLP. Yes, indeed. Okay, we're not done yet. We're going to talk about relapse and what happens if your client does relapse. Ooh, yes, we have a perfect way to deal with that. And what you do to do a presentation for your rehab centers, because I think that's where the value is. Once we build a huge network of people who are trained in this, if you all go into treatment centers and you do a presentation that gives them 20 minutes of something that is so solid and so backed up, and it's a network of amazing, powerful practitioners that we have at their disposal. That's going to be amazing. Okay. So anyway, then we will create a mastermind group and a think tank and do this together and find out how we can further this cause and help. Julie is wrong. Mike is wrong. Julie's, hang on, here's the amount. Hold on, I gotta make sure I get the right one. Okay, Melanie is the first one that says 78,000. So Melanie is the winner because it's 80,000, but once you add on some of the extras, it's 100,000. I have 3 people who are hypnotherapists from Passages who've been to my training, and they have 12 hypnotherapists there. So 80,000. Melanie, you'll have to give me a private message, maybe either on Facebook or email, and I'll give you a prize. Cindy says 100,000, which is actually true as well. Doris, $20,000. You are hard-pressed to find any rehab, no matter how crappy, for $20,000. Jared already knows, 85,000. Edward says 88,000. Okay, so think about this. People are going to Passages because Chris Prentice, his son, had a very similar story to my son for 10 years, in and out of the gutter and in and out of rehab. And Chris said, this stuff isn't working. Why are we doing this? Insanity. The definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over and expect different results. So he built his own rehab center in Malibu and charges $80,000 for a month. He has a team of hypnotherapists, nutritionists, uses science and massage and acupuncture and all the things that are going to help them become a person who's, and he says that his success rate is like 85%. He says it's verified, bona fide 85%. Well, all the other treatment centers are like 5%. But they won't tell you that, of course. Anyway, okay, so Melanie is Zap winner. All right, so we're going to meet again on Monday at the same time. In the meantime, there is a Facebook group that I have that's addiction. I think it's called Addiction Freedom. Let me see, and then I'm going to wrap this up because we're going a little bit over our time. The Addiction Project is the name of this page, or this Facebook page, and I'm not sure. Let's see. I think if you just go, I can form words and sentences this way. Let's try this. Okay. If you would join the Addiction Project, and we'll talk about it there as well. You're welcome to talk about it on my main page and on your own pages as well. But what I want to do right now is just really thank you for what you have done and your time that you have spent and the people that you have brought to me. I've seen so many of you share this all over your Facebook pages. I am honored and blessed to be giving you this information and to get to meet you and build a network of amazing people. So, Laura says, do I have a directory of folks I've trained? I do. But we want to build a bigger one so we can have a referral network. Yes. All right. So we're going to meet again on Monday. In the meantime, let's talk on the Addiction Project page. I will be very active in there, answer all the questions I can. And one of the ways I want to answer your questions is make them into podcasts and videos. So any questions you have, any help you need in any way, just ask me on that page. I will make a video and post it, and we'll have a huge library of resources for people to learn the techniques. Okay? So there you go. I'm going to sign off, and just my gratitude from the very bottom of my heart, my blessings, my love, and I'm just excited and proud to be part of your life. Yay! All right. Let me just see if there were any other questions. Yeah, Monday and Wednesday, those are the other 2 times. And, you know, I think you're going to get an email right after this webinar is over. And the email is supposed to have the links for the next 2 classes, but I think I forgot to put them in there. So I will post it on my Facebook page and on the Addiction Facebook page. So I think that was one of the things I didn't get done. Hey, Lee, oh, that was something else. Okay, someone says I need a referral for Boulder, Colorado. So you need a therapist who does this work? Well, talk to me privately. Send me a private message on Facebook, okay? Janet, you are very welcome. Thank you. Okay, everybody. Bye-bye. High five. Woo. Give yourself a pat on the back. You guys are awesome. This is going to be great. And I'll see you on Facebook, and I'll see you on Monday.